Hello everyone, today I will be teaching you about the Sicilian dragon. This is one of the most popular openings to play as black against e4 and often leads to sharp and exciting positions. However, there is a lot of theory on this one opening alone, so I'm making this video in order to provide an introduction to the opening. Let me know in the comments if I missed something crucial. In the Sicilian defense, instead of playing e5 against e4, Black decides to stop d4 with c5. After this, White will play knight f3, and the normal continuation for Black is d6, which opens up space for the bishop. Although White has a few moves that he can choose from, none of them pose any threats as Black can counter them easily. For example, bishop to b5 check looks aggressive, but can be stopped with bishop to d7 or knight to c6. In the dragon, White will play pawn to d4, trying to gain control of the center, and as Black you should stop this by taking on d4 with the c-pawn. White will take back with knight takes d4. Queen takes d4 is less accurate because you can gain tempo with knight to c6, which attacks the queen and develops your piece at the same time. If your opponent plays bishop to b5, which pins your knight, then you can just play bishop to d7 and your threat on the queen remains. After knight takes d4, the next move for Black is knight to f6, which attacks the e4 pawn. White will defend with knight to c3, bishop to d3, or some other move to defend the pawn. Next is the move g6, and with this move you are planning to develop your f8 bishop with a fianchetto, placing it on the strong a1 to h8 diagonal. This is known as the dragon bishop, and you should do what you can to keep it, because it will end up becoming a very important part of the game. Now, normally White will start developing his pieces and aiming at your kingside with moves like bishop to e3, bishop to c4, and queen to d2. Your plan as Black should be to make your kingside safe and then create an attack, many times on the other side of the board. Many dragon games are time races in which one side tries to hit the opponent first, because normally if you are the one that strikes first, your opponent will be forced to defend and you will gain the initiative, which is just a term that means you are controlling the battle. After any move like bishop to e3, f3, or bishop to c4, your next move is to just develop your bishop by placing it on g7. If your opponent places his bishop on e3, however, you have to be careful not to play knight to g4 until you castle, because playing knight to g4 immediately will lose a piece. It is a common theme to play knight to g4 in the Sicilian because you are able to harass the dark squared bishop, which is very important in White's attack. However, you shouldn't rush the move. After bishop to e3, knight to g4 loses after bishop to b5 check, and you must give up the knight because your knight is under attack and you cannot defend both your knight and your king at the same time. For example, bishop to d7 blocking the bishop loses because it is not actually guarding the knight because it's pinned, and White can just take with queen takes g4. So you will want to play bishop to g7, and then after your opponent plays his next move, you can castle. This next move will normally be f3, but it can also be bishop to c4 or bishop to e2. Next, you will want to make your king safe by castling, and now you can start thinking about your plan. White's plan is to push his kingside pawns towards your king and open up the g and h files so his rooks can join the attack and put pressure on your king. So when defending, you must keep in mind that letting him open up the files is generally a bad idea. On the other hand, because White wants to push his kingside pawns, this means that he will most likely castle to the queen side. Normally, opposite side castling from both players leads to sharp games. If your opponent castles kingside in the Sicilian dragon, you don't have to worry much about an attack and can keep developing and improving your position. But if he castles to the queenside, you will have to be wary of your opponent's moves and plans. However, queenside castling also leaves White's queenside open to attack. Your plan as Black will be to push your pawns and open the files for your rooks to put pressure on his king. Both sides will have the same plan, and this is why I said many dragon games are like time races, because both sides will be trying to throw the first punch. Often the one who makes the first decisive blow will win the game. So as Black, you will want to push your pawns with a6 and b5, and your opponent will want to push his pawns with g4, h4, and h5. It is important to have a mix of offense and defense, and you can attempt to stop these attacks by closing the kingside with h5. There are many ideas surrounding this opening, but the Sicilian dragon gives you great chances for a win as black, and is well liked by many top players. I hope you found this introduction useful, and if you try it in a game, let me know how it goes.